everybody, it's AMICUSTOMS here. I'm going to show you how you set up a pair of strapped amplifiers. This is two of the SOUNDQUBED 7K amplifiers. So in this setup here, the amplifier on top, this one here is the master, this one here on the bottom is the slave. So on the input side of the settings, what you do is there's a switch here that you set the master to output master, and then you set the slave to input slave, and then you link the two amps with a single-ended RCA cable. Okay, you do all your settings for your filters, for your gain, bass boost, low pass, all that on your master amplifier. The slave, you don't have to do anything on it. Okay, you do your normal input RCAs on your master coming from your head unit or your source device, and then if you have a remote gain knob, you can plug that into the port on the master only. So this amp's already been scoped, everything's been set on it. So on the output side of the amp, how you connect it, we have dual inputs on this amplifier, so we have two runs of 1/0 wire going into the ground side and two runs going into the positive side on each input. So on the actual speaker outputs, that's where the wiring has to be correct in order to get the strap configuration correct. So on the negatives on the master, those link to the negatives on the slave. Go ahead and see that. Yeah, there we go. So the two negatives on the slave are linked to the two negatives on the master. So then on the master, the two positives will actually run to the positive voice coil, which is right there. Okay, that's this cable here. And then the two positives on the slave, which is right here, so those two positives go to the negative of the voice coil. So that's right here. Okay, so this is the negative set of the voice coil, this is the positive set of the voice coil. And all these jumpers, all this is we have 415s here. So these are just linking all the coils. So what we have here is each set here, this whole row all the way down is negative. This whole row right here all the way down is positive. Each one of these two conjoining, that's a voice coil. So that's one voice coil, that's the other voice coil, that's one woofer right there. That's a second woofer, that's a third, that's a fourth. So each coil is series together, positive to negative, and then paralleled. All the subs are paralleled. So that's what we have here. So we have series parallels, what that wiring configuration is called. This setup right here is set up at 1/2 ohm is what that final wiring impedance is, because each coil is 1 ohm. These are dual ones. So if you do the math on that, each amp shares half the load. So the final impedance that the amplifiers sing from here to here is 1/2 ohm. Each amp will split that ohm load, so each amp will see 1/4 ohm. That's what we're wired at final impedance. Everything else is pretty much straightforward. You wire up the remote wires together, which you can see here, there's one remote that's jumping down to the other amp, and then that's going into the main remote that's down here that goes up to the head unit. And that's pretty much it, guys, on that. So any questions you have, feel free to comment below, and let me know if there's anything that you're curious about.